Welcome, friends, to another episode of the Weekly Tall Talk. We have a very special guest today in our show. Not only is he a guest with us, he's part of our team now. I welcome you, Jake, the Tech Romancer. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here. This is really exciting.
Oh
yeah, I'm excited too, man. Yeah,
excited to
have
have you.
Two other buds. Yeah, I've got two other buds of mine right here. We got Corey on the left-hand side. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking, man. It's actually a really beautiful night. I'm not sweating too much.
That's a plus.
Awesome, brother.
It's cooled down quite a bit tonight. It was really hot earlier.
Yeah, it's toasty.
We also got Cale over here on the right. How you doing, man?
I'm back. I never
back
left,
and ready.
but I'm back. I don't know.
He's been in the same room since the last episode.
Yeah.
Just waiting.
The days are blending together.
It's either recording podcasts or playing Apex Legends. He can't
there
leave.
It is.
Hey.
It's true. It's an obsession.
So, tonight's going to be a special episode because we're going to be talking about people that, matter to us a lot.
Yeah.
They've been like part of our lives for a very long time. And, we should give them the credit and talk about them at least,
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about grandparents and all that jazz.
Rock on.
All right. Sweet. So we're going to start this episode with another Would You Rather. You guys ready for it?
Yeah.
Always.
Definitely.
All right. So would you rather be able to pass on all the knowledge you've gained during your life to your grandchildren when they're born? Or would you rather receive the knowledge of your grandparents when you turn 18? What do you guys think? Who wants to go first?
I thought about this a long time while at work.
All right,
today.
go ahead. We'll start with Jake.
Okay.
Lead it off.
Because my brain likes to, create these scenarios. And I'm like, okay, if I was born and I knew everything, that my grandma's... But then I wouldn't have, the great experiences of discovering the world for myself,
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's I want to say, when I turn 18. But then I also think that you could have a lot more empathy for other people if you just had it immediately when you were
Right. All of the memories and knowledge and empathy that comes with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It'd just be consciousness would, exist forever as long as you reproduce, essentially.
Yeah.
So that could lead to overpopulation.
Or I mean, if everyone was able to pass on their knowledge to their grandchildren, that would be, I think it would be a lot of collective knowledge that would be able to continue on too.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
Definitely.
But if I have to give a definitive answer, I would probably say when I turn 18.
Okay.
Oh, so you would acquire it then?
Yeah, because it's like I said, you still get the experience of discovering the world fresh, but you can add that existence and that perception to the collective consciousness when you turn 18.
Right.
Very true. Yeah, you'd be able to have a lot of your own life experiences first without having the knowledge beforehand of what the experience is already going to be.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, for me personally, I think all but one of my grandparents were born in the 1800s. So I think whatever life experience they have might, without that being offensive, be obsolete in today's age.
Yeah, maybe obsolescent.
Yeah. The way my take on this question was who would benefit more from it? Me receiving what their experiences were in that time period and seeing the relevance of that today, versus me passing on contemporary knowledge to someone coming into the world. So I feel like my answer would rather be to pass on my knowledge, even though probably the majority of it is useless. I think it would be more relevant than taking from them.
Come on,
in my experience. I mean, they thought cigarettes were good for them.
They're still healthy. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's true. That's a shameless plug like that. But that's my answer. I'd rather pass on my knowledge and give them a jump start. But also, you're burdening that child immediately with knowledge.
Yeah,
they have no. Like Jake was saying, you kind of like have your experiences, but if you are unloaded all of these modern day things upon birth, I don't know how much that would help or hinder you. So that's not my problem. They're gonna have to deal with it. So I'm passing it on.
Although kids like have a really easy time adapting to new situations.
Right.
I mean, comparatively.
It's true.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
So like the trauma from that might not be as bad as
Right.
if you were to get it when you're 18.
Right. Be able
No.
to process it earlier and acclimate.
Yeah, whiplash, severe whiplash.
Right.
Oh yeah, I'm going through life living my, things. Oh, smoking's cool even though it's bad for me. I know that.
Right.
And then 18 comes along, you're like, oh crap, everything is crazy.
Literally. What is going right? Nothing.
All right. Yeah, as much of that as I'd like to receive like the knowledge from my grandparents when I turn 18, I'd like to like show my my experiences too to my grandchildren when they're born as well. What about you, Corey?
I think I'd rather receive the knowledge.
You would?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of question on whether or not if I had a whole lifetime's worth of experience, like I think my grandpa died around like 70 or so.
Oh.
And then, so I would have a collective of like 88 years worth of knowledge the day I turned 18. And like, yeah, like Cale, you mentioned a lot of those memories or ways of thinking would be obsolete or obsolescent. But at the same time, like you would be able to approach things with a critical eye pretty early. School would be a hell of a lot easier in some cases. Basic arithmetic would be much nicer than just not understanding it at the level I did. But yeah, I think I'd rather receive it because there's also like what we hope to pass on. There's a lot of culture and there's a lot of just personal history and personal ideas and viewpoints that we only get to see through the lens of a camera at this point. Like we didn't live, 70, 80 years ago, or even in the late 1800s, like Cale's Cale's grandparents. So like I would, as a history buff, I would just love to know like what was it like during the 60s and 70s for another person. Right. But then being cursed, like, well, I guess kind of cursed of like being born with that knowledge too. Like you're saying, it would be hard to process, I think. But knowing who I am, I think I'd be okay. I think it would be a very very interesting thing. Right. Because there's a lot of...
It depends on how that's delivered, right?
How do you mean?
How is that... how is that information delivered? Is it just like, all right, 18 revolutions around sun, and you're just immediately knowledgeable? Or is it like, because it'd be pretty cool if it was like your ancestors traveled through spirit to meet you, and you're like, hey, I'm passing along my gift to you.
And to get down, yeah.
Don't mind this part of my life. It was really terrible, but just accept it and know that, you are now burdened.
Just
with
ignore what we were doing in Germany between 1930 and 1950.
Oh no.
And then that's an interesting dynamic is, all of these social and civil issues and everything like during that time period. It gives you a real glimpse into that person's experience, how they experienced it from one side or the other, which would be very interesting to experience their experiences through those timelines.
You're getting two people's like experiences or more, like, if depending, like if it's just collective ancestors, is it everybody who's ever existed within your lineage?
Jeez.
Or
I guess
at least four.
Two.
At least four different people's life experiences, right?
That's so much info to take in. That's crazy.
That's a lot. Your brain just overloads.
Overload, yeah.
Oh man, it's like you guys ever read Dune, the very first book? Paul Atreides' young sister was like born with the knowledge of everything, so she like learns how to talk at like age 1 and has like complex emotions at age 2. That would be pretty hard. Yeah, but
with full complex emotions, you're like, oh no, that's the warpath right there.
Oh no, my 3-year-old's already making coffee.
It's like, oh god.
Talking about back in my day.
Benjamin Button.
Yeah, Benjamin Button, exactly. So 2 for receiving it and 2 for giving it. Interesting, even split.
Yeah.
Would everybody like have the same experience in society, or would it be just you
That's a great question.
Yeah.
in this world?
I wonder
Yeah.
if you had all this delivered when you were younger, how that would reform the education process if you're like instantly,
Yeah.
conscious of all these things. And then you're just like in kindergarten, but you have like let's say a college level education
Yeah.
at whatever
than the
point in
teacher.
time. And you're literally just like learning shapes. You're like, what is this?
I think from either, like getting that collective knowledge when you're born versus the day you turn 18, like Jake said, like 18 revolutions and that like happens, like that would really, I don't know, further society, I think, as a whole. Because again, like there's so much collective knowledge that would just be passed on with just how you deal with situations where you could say, oh, the Earth was literally doing this like 100 years ago, and we know how to solve this problem. Like, let's not go into the same pitfalls that we had.
And the parents would, if they also were blessed with this ability, they would have a lot more patience for raising children.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That had crossed my mind. Yeah. To have patience
for
at
sure.
a young age would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there would be no generational gap as far as like feelings or knowledge goes.
That again is another
bit-
point of like, respect your elders. But if you have the knowledge of an elder at like a teenager's age, how are the interactions between people? Do you?
Yeah.
That's very interesting to think about.
Shoot.
Yeah, there's
More questions.
There's a lot about, we're talking about respecting elders and things like that, but there is such a romantic interest to remain young,
Right.
right, in
Right.
society. So many people are scared to embrace age,
Right.
and it's obviously a fear of death, right?
Yeah. Part of
Right.
it. Yeah.
But I think that there should be like some kind of massive push to just like romanticize the beauty of like getting older.
Right.
It's such a cool thing to like learn from your past and be able to communicate that with other people.
Yeah, and I think like even speaking to that, the US is pretty bad about that. And I think that's one of the reasons we're doing this episode today. Because like a lot of senior living or senior care isn't really talked about, and it's really privatized or on the individual level. Whereas like if you look at a lot of other countries, like care for your elders is just built into the culture.
Right. More of a communal, it's kind of like your duty to do that. There's this side of the States that's kind of all I kind of like inadvertently, I guess, kind of alluded to this already, saying, oh, well, what's that knowledge have to do with now in terms of being obsolete? People are viewed that way rather than appreciated for what you have lived through. I think that's definitely a thing that's overlooked.
Do you think the same arguments would persist? Like we're talking like generational arguments where people have more hard ideologies about how the way the world should be. And if you're passing on that hardened knowledge to somebody who's 18 or just born, like, do you think those prejudices and those ideas would still be furthered as values? Or I guess that would have to be on the individual and whether or not you lose that over time.
So
That's a good question,
and,
because it is kind of individual, right?
Right.
and you said talking about prejudices and stuff, it also depends on the person, their experiences through life, what makes prejudice, what happens if they were treated unfairly or on this. How unfair is it that you are instantly burdened with prejudice?
True.
Like hate is a learned thing. So if Siler and I were hateful people, we would instantly give that to our grandchildren, like from birth, to where you're.
Wow.
I mean, depending on how you live your life or what view of society you have, you could ultimately like be furthering a problem rather than like, here, use all this and make something better. You could just be setting them back
Right.
Yeah.
right from the gate.
Definitely.
So clean up your act, Tyler.
Sure thing. Oh, man.
We asked more questions than answers for this one.
Yeah, that's how usually how it goes.
I kind of want to like add on to the portion on you were saying how you would be kind of set back in time if you were born directly with that knowledge. And if you were essentially to get that at 18, you could have an experience completely different from your parents or your grandparents.
Right.
That conflicts with that experience that they had.
Right.
But to also go into like what Corey was talking about, you asked whether or not society as a whole would have the same kind of conflicts arise. I mean, it would totally be different, but you would still have like, the past generations probably going like, well, when I was your age, I did this with the collective knowledge of my grandparents. Right. Look what your decisions you're making. There might still be that, just completely different.
That's true.
Right. And it'd be funny with those. Right.
You wonder too, like I can't remember who brought it up, but so the question in my mind was like only one grandparent was passing on knowledge, but if you have all four parents or grandparents passing on knowledge every single time, like I'm just thinking if you have multiple siblings. So like at 18 or at birth, every single one of those siblings is going to have the collective knowledge of four different people within them. So then how do they each on an individual level choose to treat that information? Do you think that they would make the same choices as each other at different stages in their life? Or like, do you think that I think that it would personally influence their decision on a lot of things, on a lot of even how hesitant you are to live your life without knowing that, when the end date is, having this extra life experience within you by the time you at least turn 18, whether or not you're born with it. Like, I think that would encourage a lot of people to go out and possibly explore more and add more to their collective knowledge.
Agreed.
It's the age-old statement, or question, nature versus nurture.
Right.
If you're the kind of individual that desires that expansion in your life to discover the world or the universe as it is, like, I think that's a natural expression of that. But if you're the kind of person that wants to just be comfortable doing what you're doing and not really explore those things because it doesn't make you feel good,
right.
I think there's also a recession that could happen within yourself, especially if you obtain all that information, because you're like, oh, well, look what my grandparents were doing this time, you compare yourself to that. It'd be all kinds of issues there.
Well, then here's the question too. So if you're getting that collective knowledge from four different people, you're let's see how to phrase this correctly. You're born as you are. So to declare who I am, I'm a cis mixed male in my 30s. So I've never had the experience or the life of living as a woman or a gay person or anything. I've only been me forever. So let's say having this knowledge of at 18, I would have two other women's lives in my collective thoughts and my collective knowledge. So I would have to think that my empathy would go up and understanding the needs that I would have to meet for the opposite sex or just other people in general. Like there would be a lot of experiences that you would be able to talk to because you would have some form of experience within that other than just trying to find empathetical connection points within talking to people and saying, I kind of get this experience because I've experienced this, which isn't exactly the same, but it's similar.
Then another part of, for me, would be if you're gaining all this knowledge and that knowledge would I'm guessing feel like experience, if you're gaining these things, it would feel like you've experienced it, right? So if you get this as when you're born, do you already feel like you've lived a life?
Yeah, you'd kind of have to.
You'd have to, especially 4 different people's lives.
Right.
You would probably feel like I don't know, that amount of time.
Unless they're delivered
down.
like memories.
Right.
Yeah, because if you're like being born, you have access to it, but you obviously still need to like develop your brain, form functional parts of it,
Right.
and then you can recall it.
Be able to process things. Right.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take a quick ad break. Hopefully you gain some knowledge from these ads. All right, we're back. So we're going to get into another question. We'll be talking about what's your happiest memory with your grandparents. I have a couple. Used to go in this, I don't know if it still exists. It was a camping ground called Thousand Trails. I forget where it is, but we'd go there every so often with the family and get together. And I've always loved camping. It's always made me happy being outdoors and nature.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
sounds
was cool
awesome.
spending time with them. That was on my my grandma Mickey side, my grandma Mickey. So on my mom's side, that was my dad's side. My mom's side, my grandma Sandra, she works for Cartoon Network, and I was able to, like, as a kid, go to like the building there and just like hang out like every so often, or they'd have Halloween parties there, and like the offices, they'd build like little haunted houses you could walk through. They'd like get really into it. Just the whole experience. I've always loved art, so I would like see like the rooms, the recording studios and everything. And so it was just like an awesome experience. Yeah. Like to be there
great, dude.
in person.
Were other kids with you? Like for the haunted house and stuff?
Oh yeah, like all the families would bring their kids to work, and everybody would have a good time. There could be
really
candy
cool.
and everything you could think of.
Oh, that's rad.
Was this in the California location?
Yeah, Burbank.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Nice. I love
yeah, that was always fun. The same side. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, can you talk about like what she worked on?
So many shows. I can't even. Samurai Jack. That's one of my favorites. Yeah. She's also worked for Hanna-Barbera, like my grandpa did too. Back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, like they've
lineage.
worked on like everything. Yeah.
Man, the legacy.
She pretty much does like all the corrections before it goes like on air, like all the mistakes and everything. So
Damn.
she'll like go through each of the the roles and
That's
just
killer.
make
That's
corrections.
really cool.
Yeah, it's been really cool. I always wanted to like work there. It's never
There's still
happened,
time.
but yeah.
There's still time.
Yeah. Also, used to go on was it every year? It was a trip to Cabo San Lucas. That's yeah. I don't know if you guys are familiar with
Party
that
time.
place. It's
Always wanted to go there, man. I love Mexico.
yeah. Yeah, we do like everything there. Snorkeling. We do the boats with the mirrorless. What is it? Where
Oh,
you
the
can see like
glass
the bottom
bottom?
of the ocean. Glass bottom.
Glass
yeah.
bottom boats.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
We do the
That sounds
jet
sick.
skis. Everything.
Damn,
There was
TFTI.
every year there would be like a guy. He was like in a, I don't know if it was a little hole in the wall or like a shack, but he was the torta man, and we just like go there every year, and they were like the best like
The same
tortas
guy
ever.
would always be there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I have
He's
a
a
picture with him
staple.
somewhere. It was a Polaroid, but I'd have to find it. But that was good times
I would
over
love
there.
to see that.
I think my grandpa also like rode like an ATV too.
Damn, that's cool. Going off over there. No rules.
Yeah, going off.
How old were you?
Yeah.
Was this like, you said every year, so like when do you think you started going?
I want to say like almost in my teens. Yeah, it was
Nice.
young. It was a really long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always stuck in my head.
Nice.
They'd rent out like a little house every year, and there'd be like buffets at night along the beach. You could just
Damn, I would have been in.
I miss it.
Oh, I
The
bet.
buffet or the trip?
What were you gonna say, Jake?
I was just gonna say, like, you know, being a teen, like, that's the perfect time to go because you're like able to make really strong impressions. You're kind of like able to go do things that you want to do. instead of-
Yeah,
That sounds cool.
definitely.
Especially in Mexico too. Like that's like culture. Like
Yeah.
as a teenager, you have a lot of freedom there.
Yeah.
For sure.
So those were always good times. Back to my grandma Mickey side, we don't necessarily do it anymore. I wish we did, but we'd have a lot of like family, like big family gatherings during the holidays, like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and it would just be like a great time. Everybody would come and get together and be happy, and just the energy was like really, it was really nice.
Nice.
Like, to look back on that, yeah. Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah, I'm glad you have those memories, brah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
So, what about you guys?
Let's see. Some of my happiest memories, kind of like you, travel.
Okay.
Both sets of my grandparents lived a distance away from me. One of them lived about 4 hours away in a desert, and then the other set lived, or the other pair, excuse me, lived in the Midwest in Illinois. And so I would spend a month with both of them during the summers growing up as a kid. So a month in the
Okay.
desert and then the month in Illinois. But one of the happiest memories like I can remember is my grandparents in Illinois. It was their 50th anniversary, and my mom and her 3 brothers planned a trip for them and more or less the immediate family to go to Paris, France, and London in the UK. And we had a 2-week trip, a week in both countries, and it was beautiful. We all got to look at art together, and I got to spend time just in another country with people that like I think my grandpa was the only one who had been well, my mom too, but my grandpa was like the only one who had been out of country. So I think it was like a really great experience for my grandma as well. Just getting to see all of the art, and I fell in love with France personally. I love Paris and going all to
Paris.
Paris.
Nice. The quintessential American response to anything
I
French.
had to throw it in there.
Editor's note: boost that all up.
No.
Nice, man.
Thank you. So I really enjoyed that. And some of the other happier memories. One was with my grandpa. Again on in the Illinois side, and we would go fishing all the time. I'm not a big fisher now. I don't really fish for sport or anything like that. But fishing with him was one of the happier times because. We would just go out on a lake, sit on the shore, or later in his life, he got a boat, and he was very ecstatic about that. So we got to drive that around and go fishing, and I really am fond of those memories.
Nice.
Was that around here?
No, that was in Illinois. We'd go to a place called
That was in
Coffee and
Illinois.
Lake, and go. We'd get
Coffee and lick?
caffeine.
What is it? Oh,
Oh, I
coffee.
thought you said coffee in the lake.
Like the Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then one more is I again with travel, when I would go to Illinois with those grandparents, probably like every other time we'd take a road trip down to a place called Branson, Missouri. You guys ever heard of that place?
I've been there.
Oh shit, yeah. I mean, I'll
Yeah,
bleep that
I'm
out.
from
All
Kansas
right.
City,
That's
so-
another one.
Oh, nice.
Sorry.
That's so cool.
It's a cool place. Yeah. It's, like really strange.
Yeah, yes.
What's it called again?
Branson, Missouri. So
Branson,
it's basically like a Christian Las Vegas if it was just shows and there were no gambling. And all of the shows are all
So kind of around the Ozarks.
yeah, that's what it's
area.
like super
Yeah.
famous for, is it's like right in the middle of it. And they got a bunch of like Ozark stores and stuff. It really like it's the perfect place for grandparents. They had a dude called Yo-Yo Ma, who was one of the world's most famous cellists. And so I got to see him and his...
That's
cool. Dude. Like, it was a great experience. And then we got to do...
I'm surprised, Branson. I'm sorry.
Well, how come?
I don't know. It's just like, if you go on like Branson's website nowadays, it's just like, you know, the beautiful, like, Jesus Christ superstar kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's very heavily Christian, and I'm sure that it's probably like drifted farther into the religious portion of it, because that was a pretty big draw.
That and like country
country being American, like Yakov Smirnoff was there. That's where his home base was for a very long time. If you guys are familiar with that guy,
right? Good name.
Sorry, my eyes are dry.
Oh, you're good. I haven't made you cry yet.
Yeah, he's chilling up.
Yeah. But and my grandma might not appreciate this, but one of the more funnier memories that I remember was within Branson. There was like a family fun center. It had golf or what it's called, like mini putt. It had arcade machines and a go-kart track, and it had inflatable bumper boats. And on the boats, a bunch of people would get in them, and you would drive them around with like a little I don't know, a little tiny steering wheel, and then you'd have thumb buttons that would squirt water at other people. And my grandma's boat wasn't working one time, so me and my cousin just like we cornered her, and we started spraying her with so much water, and she was like sopping wet by the end. No, but so she was in total like super high spirits about it. She wasn't upset or anything because like we were all just we left completely soaked, and I just remember just laughing so much as a kid.
Right. Your defenseless grandmother, yes.
There was nothing she could do to escape. It was perfect.
Oh, jeez.
Take her down.
Did you guys go on the duck rides? The duck taxi thing?
Yes, absolutely. Ride the ducks.
That was sick.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that.
It was
the little mouthpieces.
Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar at home, they were little amphibious boat trucks. A bunch of tourists would get in, and then it was like a vehicle shaped like a big boat. And then the boat would get into the water, and you'd like troll around lakes and stuff.
Right. That's awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are some of my happiest memories, is just going on vacation with them.
Nice, Corey. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. What about you, Jake? What are some of your happiest memories?
I think the traveling bit is probably
going
to be similar here with everyone.
That's fine.
Nice.
I remember my grandma and my grandpa Pop. He was from England. He wasn't my biological grandfather, but pretty much the grandfather I grew up with.
Okay.
We took a trip to Las Vegas, and my sister and I were like, I was like 5.
Perfect.
She was like 7 or 8. So we were like way too young for anything cool there. But I just remember like seeing the animated fountain statues. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, like the dancing water fountains, right?
Yeah. As a kid, I was like, whoa, those are statues and they're moving. That's so cool.
That's awesome.
And like seeing like the bald caps at like the magic stores. I wanted to be bald so bad. I'm like, I want to get this, guys. Can I get this? And my grandma's like, no, Jake, you're going to play with that for like 2 minutes. I'm like, but then I could say I'm a different person and stuff like that.
The identity.
So just, just like introducing me to a lot of cool, like, even though it's like Las Vegas, there's so many different, they celebrate kind of like a small little world kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many different cultures and stuff there. Like, it was kind of eye-opening seeing like grown adults act like children.
Oh yeah.
As a kid, it was really cool. So maybe that instilled in me like to never lose a little bit of my inner child. And my grandma to this day, she every time I try to talk to her about like once a week or so, maintain that connection, because she's like, I consider my grandma like one of my best friends.
Oh, nice.
That's cool, man.
And we pride ourselves on like never give up, being having an inner child, and just always looking through the world in those fresh eyes. Because as rigid as we can get, like there's always something new and exciting to discover.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think travel is probably
Traveling part, yeah. That's always a big part, yeah.
Yeah, especially in a group. Yeah, that's cool.
How old were you guys? Or rather, I'm sorry, not your age. Were you with your mom and dad and them, or was it like just you and your grandparents?
it was just grandparents, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So we grew up in Kansas area, right? And so we were kind of like, my grandma would call us little hicks because we had like accents, I guess. Even though we really didn't, she probably has more of an accent than we do.
Right.
And they lived out in California. That's where my parents are from. So we go out for the summer to like hang out, and my grandpa was like, let's go to Las Vegas. I want to go to Las Vegas and play some games.
That's cool.
My grandma was like, we have kids, like. I'm like, oh, bring them along. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. Yeah. So it was kind of just like an unexpected thing, Then they would also like take us around like Hollywood. I was obsessed with Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool. Nice.
So they would show us like where all the movie stars live. And
Dude, I was born and raised
I was-
like an hour outside of Hollywood. I didn't go to Hollywood for the first time until I was like 17.
Whoa.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
saved it up.
I went there once and then I left the state.
Perfect.
I think it's a cool area. I mean, going back there, yeah, there's some. Last time I went through there, this truck tried driving through like lane splitting and then like broke the side mirror
God.
of the van I was in. But yeah,
That's about right.
I think it's a cool area. You have like amoeba music.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
These little
yeah.
hipster pockets and stuff.
Jokes aside, I do love Hollywood. I do like visiting. Because like
Had to
you're
stick
saying
that
with,
in there.
yeah, well, try and save face. But
Right.
like you're saying with Las Vegas, like LA really is like street to street, a different culture and a different place and a different vibe.
Very true.
For sure. All right. What about you, Sale? Let's see. Let's hear it, brother.
More of my I mentioned this earlier, but 3 out of the 4 of my grandparents were born in the 1800s. All of them had passed before I was born, or I think my grandpa on my dad's side passed. I think there's like one picture of him holding me, and then he like passed away like a month or 2 later, I think.
Okay.
And then my mom's mom passed away when I was 5. She had a pretty severe stroke. She was like a lifelong smoker, so I mean, she had ailments later in life. Considering how long she smoked, she lived pretty long. I think she was like 77 or something like that.
That's pretty good, man.
So she lived pretty long, but a lot more of my memories are not even really my memories, but more my parents' memories of telling stories about
That's
stuff.
true, yeah.
My dad was one of 4 brothers, and they all loved their father. He was very hard-nosed, very to the grindstone carpenter, you got to earn what you got, blah, blah, blah. And it was really funny because my dad was the tallest. He was about 6'3", and then there was three of his younger brothers that were almost, I think, 6 feet or less. And my grandpa, I think, like from the stories, he was 5'2".
What?
And like everybody was scared the hell out of him. He was just one of those guys where it's like those, when you think of a quintessential like old school man that's like tough as nails and it's just a short guy that won't take any shit. That was like my grandpa. And then one of the stories that I just absolutely love was how my dad came out to California. They were, I think, in their early teens, if not a little bit younger. And my grandpa apparently was just like, I want to go to California. So they left from Pennsylvania and they just drove to California.
Wow.
Without any prospects or anything really. And he just found work immediately.
What year was this?
My dad was at, I think it might have been right before, because my dad was born in 32, so it would have been the 40s.
Wow.
So, and my grandpa on my dad's side served in World War I, so he didn't have to, and he was injured, I believe, so he didn't have to serve for World War II.
Wow. So
during that time period, that's when they came over, and I believe my mom's family had been in California for a very long time. So just like one of those days where, like the typical head of the family is just like, I want to go over there. And everybody went.
Yeah, the family
And I think
follows.
he brought his brothers also, because I remember stories from my dad. It's like all these like 5'2" guys running around like like telling everybody what to do and all these things.
That's crazy that your family was so short. Because like for those of you who don't know at home, Cale is 6'7".
Giant.
Oh, wow.
This man, he's a giant man.
Yes, sir. So like, I would have loved to like have seen him see me today and just been like, what would like a foot and a half taller than him. It's like, what are you gonna do? Probably kick my ass. But there's stories about that, and then my mom had stories about her mom growing up, and she like there's in between marriages and stuff, like those stories of like she supported 5 kids on one income and had 3 jobs and all that. It was like the stories you hear so often. It's just like that determination to have this life for your kids, and she would say that you didn't get presents for Christmas. They would get the tree the night before Christmas, and the tree was like your present.
Oh,
from
wow.
my mom's family.
Oh.
Wow.
And like decorating the tree was your Christmas present.
Yeah.
Basically, because like you just didn't have it up, and my dad's dad started a construction business. They had that for a long time. So just a lot of stories about like stories from them.
Yeah.
About them. So I kind of felt like I knew them in some ways, but for the most part, it's just hearing those stories. Those always made me happy though. Just to you hear your family history and it just gets passed on. So.
It's nice that those stories were able to be passed on too. It's nice that you have some semblance of these memories and ideas of who these people were. Yeah,
my dad's memory was insane. He could remember everything, so he was always telling me something about something. Even in his 80s, he would fire off, "Oh yeah, I remember when I was 22," and I'm like, "What?
Yeah,
I can't remember anything."
Right?
he was able to recall all this information all the time. He's like, "Yeah, Bob Delaney lived 3 houses down in 52." I'm like, "What? Like, what do you even?" And then like, that again is another story of a time period that's not really here anymore. I mean, you guys met each other, you guys are neighbors, but that's when everybody knew people for blocks.
Right. Hey, Cale's referring to Jake and I, by the way. We're neighbors.
Yeah.
So I was close enough to me. He's within.
It takes a certain mental like mindset to be in for I think Corey and I to like be able to meet, because I don't know. There's so many people that I try to introduce myself to every day, and they don't always stick.
Yeah.
Corey and I kind of connected pretty easily.
I just had to ask you if you wanted a job. It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
And now Tyler and I.
That was the second day. I'm the second time. I'm like, oh man, I saw your artwork, and like, yeah, those helmet designs are really cool. And you're like, oh hey, do you want a job? Like, cool.
Yeah, man. Sure.
Hey, now you're on a podcast.
Yeah, it worked out.
Your life moves fast.
What's something that you guys are proud of that you'd like to tell your grandparents? I know you Cale can't really do that
I'm
now,
alive.
but
Grandpa, I'm alive.
look at me.
Look at me.
For me, I'd say doing this with you guys. This is something I've like never ventured in or like done.
Right.
So this is exciting, and I can't wait to show like my whole family, especially like my grandma.
Yeah.
And everybody else. Yeah.
The inspiration for this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I'm actually going to echo that, man. I have the exact same thought. In fact, in reading the outline for this, I actually called my grandma yesterday, and I told her about the show, and I told her what I was doing, and I was like, hey, I'm excited about this, and I'm excited about recording this, and I have a very special episode to show you once we're done. So
that's
awesome. What was her response? Like, is she excited or?
Yeah, she was. So she's not tech savvy, but she's like, you have to find a way so I can hear this. And I was like, I will do everything possible so you can.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
What about you, Jake? What do
I'm going to talk about someone like my great grandfather.
Okay.
Who's passed away. He passed away last year.
Condolences.
Yeah.
No, it's just
thank you. No, he was an amazing man. Like he's a World War II veteran.
wow.
Very, very smart.
Right.
He was in the he was trying to get into the Air Force because he just wanted to fly plane. He grew up with Chuck Yeager as his neighbor.
No way.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So they would like play with like model planes and stuff outside. and he told me the story about how he like saw him like, oh, I know that guy. That's my old neighbor. And then he was like, what is he doing? And then he like read about him. He was like, oh, geez,
Yeah.
this is crazy. This is
amazing.
cool. He did the dream. Yeah. So my great grandpa was in the reserves and, or I don't know, not really reserves. I don't really know what it is. It was like some kind of like placement thing. Like he was going to do like pilot stuff, but I guess they needed to bring everybody into the Navy or something in that squad. So we went into that. But he was very intelligent. He was designing like machines and stuff for the military
Oh, wow.
at a very young age.
That's amazing.
Making like, yeah, he was making like $10 an hour back.
Whoa,
those
that's some
days.
money.
Like really
bucks.
crazy.
Yeah.
Money. Yeah.
Wow.
So he owned like quite a bit of land like after that, but he really wanted to stay connected to everything. You know, he wanted to use computers. He was a huge investor in Tandy. I don't know if you guys know what
No.
that is or anything. It was like Radio Shack's computer brand.
Oh, whoa.
Okay.
So they were like trying to bet on like everything was new with personal computers. You have like IBM. Oh, we're going to make like IBM compatible systems, and Radio Shack's going to be the place where you get all your computer parts.
Yeah.
You can build your own IBM system. He really believed in that. He was all into models and stuff.
Right.
And it wasn't really until the pandemic really started where I got heavily into IT. I was able to take advantage of a lot of jobs that
Nice.
a lot of people were leaving. So
Right.
even like I would still get paid less than what a more experienced person would make, but it was still a lot more than what I was making. So I was like, yeah, I'll take anything I can get. I would just like love to sit with him and talk to him about how computers are now and what you can do with it and what the future is going to be.
Yeah.
Just pick his brain about it, because I feel like he would have a lot of knowledge of just like how those systems could connect and be really inspired by it.
I bet you
Nice.
have a lot of fascinating conversations with him about everything that you're
Absolutely.
doing, man. Like that's really great.
Thanks. Yeah, I showed him Portal when it first came out.
Really?
Oh.
And he was like, "This is cool!
Wow.
Like you could, oh, you're doing that and that." And like he got it.
Right.
You know, he was like in his 90s.
Yeah.
You picked it up
It's
quick.
Crazy.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a long life.
It's like they're doing some really cool stuff with all this technology. I never would have thought that this would have happened.
Right.
But really challenging your perception of a thing. I'm like, yeah, this is cool.
Yeah,
So,
we really
yeah,
see
I
where
know
you
that
get
we
it
would
from,
have
man.
this conversation. Yeah, it's my great grandfather who influenced my father, which then influenced me.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Passed it down.
Yeah. All right, Cale, do you have anything that you'd like to say that you're proud of? That you'd like to maybe, I don't know if it's possible, but
No, I would just echo what you guys said. I mean, the fact that
Okay.
fairly soon we're going to be business owners. I didn't imagine that being something I would undertake, especially with my friends. So that's a very cool thing that I would share. My dad had his own business, and my grandpa on that side had his own business in construction. So not exactly the same. But what do you mean you're talking on a microphone? But pick up a hammer. What are you doing? Yeah, what are you doing over there? No, but to have that and have this experience and be able to not have a platform to necessarily share what our ideas are, but to use our creativity in a different light, I think would be something cool to say. And this had just come together relatively fast, like out of a spawn of like a side comment of like, yeah, we should really do something.
Yeah.
And then to see where it is now, I think I'm very proud of what we're doing. And
it's taking off.
yeah,
Definitely.
So that's my answer, basically that. Then show those short that tower over them. I don't care. My height, you'd be like, look at the size of them. No, but other than that, no, just echoing what you guys said, just where we are in our lives and what we're doing. I believe in what we're doing and just having a really good time with it and proud of it. So
Nice.
We're going to take another ad break, but we'll get back to you shortly. All right, we'll see you then. And we're back. So we have another question. What are you most proud of about one of your grandparents? I'll go first again. I don't mind.
Okay.
I'll take the lead on this one, boys. Just sit
Sorry,
back.
guys. Back off. No. Yeah. How long has it been now? My dad passed probably like two years ago. No, it's gotta be what, 2000. I think it was 18. Yeah.
So 4 years ago?
Anyways, yeah, 4.
No, going on 4.
But my grandma Mickey, when my dad was in the hospital and he was in a coma for I think about a year. I've never seen so much care like for him. Like she was there every single day, always taking notes. She'd ask the doctor like tons of questions, and I just like realized that like what she was doing for him, and like really proud of her, like that she was like there. I know it's her, like it's her son and everything, but I mean, I just really want to shout out that to her, that I noticed it, and it really like made me like feel good, like that she was my grandma and the kind of care that she had for my dad. And it was a sad time, but I mean, I don't know, that always stuck with me.
Yeah,
sorry to get all down.
That's great, man.
No.
Yeah.
No, dude. That level of compassion and love is something more people need to experience or at least see, and maybe take on with yourself to love somebody that much. You know?
Yeah,
and it's,
definitely.
I'm pretty sure most of us has heard from our parents is we'll always be their children.
Right. No matter how old you get.
And no matter how old.
Right.
So yeah, I'm really proud of her for being there for my dad when he was going through that time. Even though he passed, I mean, she did everything she could in her power, you know, to always be there. And yeah.
That's great, man.
Yeah, thanks.
That's nice, Tyler. Thanks for sharing that, dude.
Thank you. Thank you, Grandma, for doing that for my dad. Appreciate that.
How are we going to top that one?
Yeah.
I'll
reorganize it.
No wonder he wanted to go first. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. See, I'll take the lead, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, it starts at the peak. We only have down from here.
Damn, dude. Starting off hot now. Oh, no.
Right? What about you, Cale? What do you think?
I guess the most thing that I can latch on, other than like stories, is both my grandfathers fought in World War One. My mom's dad was a bugler, and then
nice.
I believe my dad's dad was stationed on an island somewhere. I want to say it was Alaska or it was somewhere else, like just deep wilderness. He was there for a long time. That's where he got injured. But just the call to service, I guess, in those times, very dark times in the world, and so many millions of others, he got called upon to go and went and did their service, and were able to, fortunate enough to come back and have families. And I guess just answering the call when it's a very dark time in history is a pretty big thing. So for me, not knowing them, that's something that I would appreciate the most. Yeah,
definitely something to admire for sure.
Right.
Nice. What about you, Jake?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of talked about my great grandfather a little bit ago. Okay. So I'm going to pivot to my great grandmother.
Nice.
Ooh. Switch it up.
She was also a very amazing person. She very smart. But she never was prideful about it. Like, I didn't know a lot of the things that she did until much later. But her and my great grandfather had a avocado orchard on their property.
Yeah. Did you say avocado?
And,
I love avocados.
Yeah. So she was actually doing studies on genetically enhancing avocado resistance to what would happen in nature.
Wow.
And her work was studied by hundreds of professors around the world with what she was doing with these avocado
that's amazing.
trees. I have no idea the details within it. It's just looking at it now, she also passed this year.
Condolences, man.
But also,
Everybody condolences.
thank you. No, very, very beautiful woman. I mean, she just like would always put herself second, and try to make sure that everybody could succeed before her, even though she had amazing skill sets and could change the world, like just subtly, like in the background. Not a lot of people don't really think about, like, all these trees and stuff and plants and food products that we get. Like, they're heavily genetically modified now, but I mean, it is kind of impressive that we've been able to kind of like simplify that formula so that we can have consistent products.
Yeah, it's a huge contribution.
Definitely.
Nice.
Proud of you, Grams.
We're proud of you, Jake's grandma.
Yeah.
She appreciates it.
What about you, Corey?
So there's two things that I'm that I'm pretty proud of. One of them is my grandpa in Illinois. He served in the Korean War, but
Nice.
he served on a transport ship. And so he never saw active combat. He basically spent, I think, 4 or 5 years traveling around the Pacific Sea in the Navy, from Japan to Korea and I think the Philippines and a few of the other neighboring islands. And he was transporting food and grain. So it was just a simple transport ship. And I thought that was really cool because he got to have a lot of experiences. In fact, he got his portrait drawn in Japan when he was I think he's in his early 20s or so. And that portrait is actually something we found because he had rolled it up and saved it, and it's hanging above my front door right now. So I have a copy of it. So
cool.
I just getting to see that and getting a reminder of his time in the Navy, and like I've always looked up to that. It taught him a lot of values in life, and he was very successful because of his time in the Navy and in the service, and because he was pretty well traveled in his early 20s, coming back to the States. Like, again, like Southern Illinois, it's not exactly the most diverse culture, but I'm half Mexican, and he had always just been a very open-minded and kind person for as long as I had known him. And I know, things were a little bit different when he was alive, and he was different. But yeah, for as long as I knew him, he was a really fantastic man, and he taught me a lot.
Wow.
And my grandma, same pair. So his wife. I'm actually really proud of her because, and this, it kind of sounds silly to say, but she had been working for a very long time. So she started working, I think, in the 50s or 60s. My grandparents bought a gas station, convenience store, and she worked in that convenience store up until like 2 years ago. And
Wow.
why I'm proud of that is because like my grandma would work there 5-6 days a week, not just because like she needed money. She didn't. It was just like a thing for her to do where she felt purpose. And that really got her awake and out of the house every single day, was going down to the store and working, and it made her feel good. And seeing that kind of work ethic was just kind of just really nice to see growing up.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what I'm proud of.
Yeah, and I just wanted to circle back to your grandpa serving in the Korean War. I was very fond of your grandpa. Every time they came out, I was usually around at some point to be able to talk to him, and we would go out to dinner. And my dad also served in the Korean War.
That's right.
So their stories were kind of intertwined. My dad was older when he passed. He was born in 1932.
Your dad was a year older than my grandpa. My grandpa was born in 1933.
Wow.
So I mean, in terms of experiences, I'm sure even though they were, stationed Navy and Air Force, that's harboring back to what you were saying, Jake, about your great grandfather who wanted to be in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, two totally different experiences, but, you know, it was wartime, but, you know, it's just
U.S. Army, Air Force, because it wasn't yet Air Force.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, it changed his perception of things. I remember him telling me, I mean, because when he went in, I think he was 19.
Oh, wow.
Or something, yeah. And he was a fighter pilot and then got offered the space program. And then I know he didn't follow through with that because he had obligations back home. But just to...
Was he short? Was he short?
No, he was the tallest one. He was 6'3".
Wow.
So
okay.
for him to be...
Oh, okay. He was tall.
Right.
Wow.
So... But I always remember them not like literally sharing war stories whenever they would be together. They were kind of inseparable whenever they'd be around each other. So I just wanted to bring that up. I have vivid
awesome.
memories of that.
Yeah, my grandpa always had a lot of very fond things to say about your dad too. Even after the fact, like there was a lot of commiseration between the two.
Definitely. It's the times, you know, it's a bonding thing. Everybody was doing their part in one way or another, you know, during any conflict really, but you know, they just happen to have that camaraderie, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why there's such a strong bond amongst people in that generation, right? Like that there's a collective understanding of kind of the terror that people went through, you know, either if it was domestic or outside, like it was a really tumultuous time,
especially growing up too, like being born at the height of the Great Depression and then going straight into the world, like the World War, and then right into the Korean World War, and then there was a lot of turmoil going on in a very more or less unstable growing country.
Right.
It wasn't until the dang hippies came along and really
hippies.
Yeah, but that speaks to people having shared experiences versus, you know, nowadays we might see the same event and then have two completely split things of perception of what something is. Versus back then it was, this is what happened. And everyone was kind of on the same page. Now everything is open to interpretation. I think there's not as many shared experiences as there would have been in that time period. Like you said, that generation kind of like embraced each other versus like separation and conflict that's kind of taking over now.
Yeah, you got to wonder what's going to happen to our generation. You know, when we're doing Tall Talk episode 1500, will we still have these same thoughts and ideas, like of passing on our knowledge and our traumas to our kids and grandkids?
Right.
Yeah.
I did want to say something that I forgot.
Okay, if you remember, bring it
come
up.
back to it.
Yeah. Let's come back to it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw kind of a personal question to you guys.
Okay.
Would you guys yourself ever want to be a grandparent?
Are you going to go first?
No, I'll let you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, take the lead on this one.
Corey.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I think one day I'd like to be a grandparent. Like we were talking about earlier, I think there's just so much collective knowledge, and I love teaching. And doing so as the low risk pressure of a grandparent, I think that's the perfect spot for me, because I don't have to be right. I just have to be useful at that point.
There you
Come
go.
on, Grandpa. You're like, I don't know, man.
It's different. I don't know.
It's really the best time to like be able to make excuses, because it's like, well, they're just old. Your parents are like, or the parents are like, they're just old. Forget what they say. So you can like do anything you want, say anything you want, and then
the rules.
when there's wisdom, it's like, wow, listen to your great grandfather, or listen to your grandfather. He's got so much wisdom. So you get like the spotlight. You can get easily dismissed for your, silly shenanigans.
Right.
Like
It's glorious times.
you don't have to really worry about it.
Right.
And you can like just see him for a little bit, and then
And
whatever.
that's perfect.
I'm tired. I want to go to sleep in the lazy boy.
Exactly.
I need to go rest my eyes.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that very first back in my day is going to be so sweet.
Oh,
The first one's going to hit
That's what
different.
everybody waits for.
it's a classic. Oh man. What about you, Jake? Think you'd ever want to be one?
I think so, only if, I don't know. I thought about this. Like, I guess I have this intrinsic fear of bringing another person into this world.
Yeah.
So, if I was a grandparent, I'd want it to be like through some kind of proxy method of like, oh, hey, this is my, I don't know, friend or something who's like 30 years younger than me, and their child is growing up, and I kind of get to be like the surrogate grandfather.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like
nice.
like a step granddad or something.
Yeah. I want to reap all the benefits that you were just talking about, Corey, of being a grandfather without having to actually take the steps to get there.
Gotcha.
Right. That's
It's
right.
always an option. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hey, can I know you're just hitting 30 now, but can I adopt you? I don't know. Something's calling out to me.
I'm feeling it.
I don't want to be your
undeniable.
dad. I'm only going to show up on the holidays and maybe summer when you're on break.
Perfect.
That's hilarious. What about you, Sale? Papa Sale.
Papa. No, I mean, my wife and I have actively been trying to have children for several years now, but I'm kind of in the same boat as Jake with the progression of the way things have been going. It's not a game changer now for me to not have kids if it doesn't happen. I used to think, oh man, I definitely wanted to have kids, and having an older father, I was like, oh, this will happen by 30. I'm 32. So not going according to plan, but I mean, you can't plan for everything in life. But the way things are going is things are kind of tumultuous. It does weigh on my conscience to not only be responsible, because I believe I have a lot of love to give, and I believe my wife would be a excellent mother, but it is scary to bring someone into the world when there's so much conflict and division and, you know, uncertainty. But that's always the case. There's always uncertainty in life.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna actively be trying still. I enjoy the trying part. Yeah. So, but I mean, I would love to at some point be a grandfather. Just be like old. I feel like if I don't have good posture, I'm just gonna be one of those like really bent old men that's just like
Turtle.
hunching over people and just like, I need that seat.
Cane.
You would be a perfect lowercase
I used
n.
to be 6'7".
Yeah, okay, Grandpa.
Yeah, I'll be like, you're gonna listen. I might come in a little bit more like, hey, what do you know? I'll be like, excuse me.
Wait, so by the time you're really old, Cale, you'll be my height, and then I'll be even shorter. So
The ratio is the same.
Exactly. What about you, Siler? I mean,
yeah, I'm super down. Yeah, I think I'd be like a fun grandpa.
for sure.
I'd
Crazy
be like
Grandpa
the
Siler.
jokester. Yeah, exactly. Like pranks all the time. Yeah, I'd be like the fun one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could see you taking that role for sure.
Yeah. Just I think it would be like a great experience to to share knowledge and just to enjoy just to have a big family. And I thought about it a lot, and I'd like to experience that one day.
For sure.
It'd be really nice. Yeah.
Plus, we're still dealing with the ramifications and things, but we will be telling our grandkids in one way or another the mask mandates and the COVID outbreaks and everything that we're currently still dealing with. But they'll be like, "What? You had to wear masks everywhere you go?" I'm like, yeah, man. Grandpa, that doesn't sound right. No one saw my face for a year.
I had to grow out this beard to keep myself distinct from others.
Exactly. Oh, there'll be a lot of things. Hopefully more good than bad that we'll be able to discuss. But we'll see.
It's an interesting question. So, do you think America might have such an issue with the mask mandate because there's such a focus on individuality? Because you can't really express yourself as easily.
Yeah, I heard that dating is harder right now, especially with all the masks and the COVID restrictions of not being able to go out anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, because like there's still ways you can express yourself, like different masks and I guess your clothing. But yeah, like like facial, like one of the things I was just talking about with I think one of your friends, Jake, was me and him both look at people's mouths when they speak because we're hard of hearing. And the mask thing was like the biggest thing for me, was not being able to see people talk to me. And I know I'm probably going to go the same way as my grandpa, where I'll need a hearing aid early in life. And so, yeah, that's been a pretty big change. But I don't know. I guess we can adapt. I like to think so.
Yeah.
This is also the on the flip side of that, was so many more people put themselves out more on social media, being isolated. So a lot more people's personality was kind of showcased if need be through social media, or posting that way, or in whatever means. But I think a lot more people had an outlet just turning to social media that way. But I wouldn't.
Maybe a reason for the rising tensions.
Right. More people had time to express their opinions on everything.
Broadcast.
So, I mean, good and bad, right? Like everything.
Yeah.
With change being a constant in our lives, what place would you like to preserve today to visit with your grandkids? That's a good question.
What do you think, Tyler?
What's a place that I'd like to preserve? Probably our forests. That's a main one. Nature.
Oh, yeah.
That's always big.
Absolutely.
Just the Los Angeles National Forest, though, right?
That's it, though.
Just the one closest to you.
LA, baby.
Yeah.
Everything else I don't know.
No, just in general. I mean, there's so much we can learn with nature and connect, with that, and to get kids away from, technology, even just, to become one and experience that. I think I'd like to preserve that for, future generations. That'd be amazing.
So you plan on going camping a lot with your kids and grandkids when you get the opportunity?
Yeah, you better believe it.
Yeah, man. Pass on those traditions. Have, just like you were saying at the beginning of the episode, man. Like that camping tradition. Like there's not a lot of people who hate camping when you're doing it right.
Exactly. Yeah, I get you on that. I'm pretty sure it'll be there forever. But as a kid, I used to go to Disneyland a lot. I always liked that place. I'd like to bring them there and share that experience with them. My grandpa was, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but he was there on the day it opened.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
That's cool.
Wow, what a
That's
milestone.
historical.
They had like the tickets and stuff where you had to like trade in
Right.
the amount for it.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you had
That's
to buy the
incredible.
different tickets, like, and there were different pricing packages and stuff. And yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that, just for like on the fun side. But what about you guys? What are some places that you'd like to preserve for your grandchildren, if any?
Branson, Missouri.
I was just thinking that. Perfect.
Just kidding.
Yo, Ma, we're coming after you with the cryogenic chamber, man. We need you around.
Right?
Live forever.
Is he at Branson Staple? Is that a thing?
Yeah,
His headquarters.
I don't know if he's still there, but he has been there for a very long time. Like,
Wow. He's like the Britney Spears of
yes,
Branson, Missouri.
like he's like a selling
That's cool.
point for sure.
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I think drinkable water is a good one to preserve.
Yeah.
I think Tyler had a really good
Yeah.
answer. I agree with that. Forests and stuff, just allowing nature to be preserved,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
not escape to the moon
Right.
or Mars.
Yeah, there's less forest there, I hear.
Yeah. Looks different.
Yeah, the potatoes are great though.
Ooh. Corey, what's a place you'd like to preserve?
What I would really like to preserve right now is the Enchanted Forest here in Oregon. It's about 45 minutes, 50 minutes south of Portland from where I'm at. And I can't remember if I brought it up on the show or not, but the story behind it is a person bought this land in, I believe, around the 60s or 70s. And he started building from scratch and by hand an amusement park. And it was all based on fairy tales, and there's a whole lot of like different Disney stories and fairy tales that are there. And it's not a very big park, but it's very cool to bring your kids to because it's like a really nice imagination land. There's
Why does it sound so familiar? It's crazy. Enchanted
I
Forest.
probably talked about it with you before, I think.
Yeah.
Because I just went there for the first time not too long ago.
Nice.
Yeah, I've never been.
It's one of those places, I'm saying, like if you go there when you're a young kid, it would probably be a very magical, formative place, not unlike Disneyland. What? But yeah, that's the place that I would like to preserve, because I don't know if it's growing in size at all, and it's been on the verge of like closing permanently several different times, but it's always saved by like local donations. So I would really hope that
go. We should go.
We'll make a trip there.
Sure.
I'm off next Monday. We could like do a 3-day trip. Just 3 days. Enchanted Forest. Be
Dude,
there.
there's a winery like right next door you could walk to. We'll go back and forth.
Okay, that sounds
Toasty.
good. Different wines, different experiences in Enchanted Forest.
Different levels of
Perfect.
hungover while you're on the log flume.
No.
I'm down for this. This is great.
What about you, Cale?
I mean, we've all said nature, that's a given, but particularly the redwoods. I mean, our trip up there was everything I thought it was going to be, and there's these 1,000-year-old trees and just that landscape and just how beautiful it is. I would like to preserve it for it to be around. You never know with they obviously lived through the fire, because we saw so many that were all burnt out and still alive and still standing somehow. And so, but with the fires, you never know. And then Yosemite, and then just our water. I mean, the drought is so bad. You know, like Lake Mead, Lake Havasu, like Lake Pyramid.
Yeah.
Terrible.
In terms of like my wife's family, they have a lot of memories up near Mojave and Lake Isabella, and that is, in the few years that I've been up there, the drastic amount of water that has come out of that, it's like just nothing now. And I'll hear her tell all these stories about how they used to be there, and it was just such a focal point of life up in that area, and for it to be just so barren is sad. But I don't know how much we could do about that. Just hoping, I guess, at this point in terms of that. And I heard the Colorado River is like drying up.
Yep.
Just everything on the West Coast is just drying up, and the droughts. Seems like every year we say, "Oh, this is the worst drought," and it's just progressively getting worse. So, I mean, to save those things or to have those available for future generations would be amazing, and we'll just see what happens in the time being.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Wow, that was a really interesting conversation. Thank you, guys. We're gonna cut to another ad break, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, Tyler.
You're welcome. Welcome back, friends. How are we all doing? We're all hanging in there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man, loving the conversation so
Great.
far.
Yeah, it's been really fun. What's a skill that you'd like to pass on to grandkids?
Telepathy.
Yeah, totally.
It didn't say that it had to be a skill I have.
Oh, just whatever we want. Yeah.
This is why we have you on, man. Thinking outside the box.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thinking outside the mind, actually.
Yeah, technomancer.
Yeah.
If I can be serious, though, I do think
No.
It's not allowed.
the power of suspending judgment.
Okay.
Just being able to rationally look at a situation, go, okay, well, this evidence is being brought forth to me. Does it make sense? I can have time to think about it. It doesn't need to be a quick decision. Like there was a shirt. Sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent for a
let's
second.
go.
You're good.
But it's like the whole the X-Files kind of thing where it's like, I want to believe kind of thing. This guy had a shirt of that. it just got me thinking of like, there's already people are already ready to believe what they want, you know? So anything that justifies that.
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Confirmation bias, 100%. So just the ability to stop, slow down a little bit, listen to the evidence that's being presented to me, think about it, talk to people about it before making a hard decision on something. And maybe not even having an opinion at all on something, because that's okay too.
Right. Now, would you want to wait until they were 18 to pass it on, or at birth?
No. That's one probably at birth they should have.
I would imagine, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, good patience is hard, man. Especially when you're a kid.
Yeah.
There's adults that have no patience.
Yeah, sometimes, man. It's just not
I say
something...
adults like we're not in our 30s, so I'm like,
Hey, man.
there's still adults out there.
I'm going to bleep that out. Our audience doesn't need to know our age.
I still think
we're young.
I still feel
We're
like
young,
I'm
man.
24, man. I don't know. Mentally,
Mentally.
that's where I'm at.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but I think that's a great skill to pass on, man.
I'd probably pass on something with art or music. Also, I don't know if it's really technically a skill, but to show compassion, to be kind, to treat others the way you would like to be treated, just to be a good person. I don't know if that's a skill to really like show
That's
somebody.
what I was going to say.
It's a
Compassion
skill
is
you gotta-
definitely a skill.
Yeah. But if you teach that early on, I mean, you're on a great path, you know, to leading a great life for somebody. Yeah. What about you, Cale? You were going to say something?
Oh no, I was kind of echo compassion. It's so easy, especially nowadays. A lot of people are, you know, we're all about like what we put out there via social media or our presence or our image or anything. It's very easy to get, you know, unaware of everything outside and just focus on within. And compassion is definitely something more people need, you know, especially, you know, now I feel like so many people went through so much hard shit the last couple of years that it's just, you know, everybody could use a break. Everybody could use some compassion and empathy. But the one skill I think, just to not have the same answer as you, is I think maybe the willingness to help others. You know, the willingness to show up for people, your family, your friends. I mean, you can count on like one hand how many times I haven't been able to answer the call to come help somebody or the willingness to do it. I feel, you know, life's hard enough. If you can, without being detrimental to yourself, unburden someone else or help them through a hard time, I think you should absolutely, I think it's your duty to help other people.
Yeah. Well, that really goes into like speaking to a strong sense of community.
Right.
Definitely.
I mean, it's just, I feel so one skill would just be the willingness to help others would be mine.
So
Nice.
before I answer, I want to ask you guys, since you're kind of all on the same wavelength and mine's pretty left field. Do you all feel that you are currently good practicers of that skill? Compassion, waiting for, and understanding and listening. And do you think you guys practice that well in your everyday life?
Not as much as I'd like to. I think I could be better with it, but that's something I'd like to work on personally.
I feel I'm good at the willingness to show up, but I definitely could take from Jake and not react immediately to things. Yeah, I tend to. It's not a quick trigger for anything. It's just I really have to be better at absorbing information before I think of what I'm going to say in response to something before I've even taken in what somebody else is saying. It's like, what's that old adage that says, are you listening to hear or are you listening to talk?
Yeah.
And I find myself more often than not listening to talk. So that's something that I could definitely benefit from.
And that's why we're all on Tall Talk.
Yeah, man. You're forced to
Tall
listen.
talk.
The show has no flow.
I'm perfect, guys. I follow everything too.
Wow, teach
by
us.
what you've said tonight, I believe it. These answers have been stellar.
All right.
No, I mean, like, I'm totally a victim of, like, just, you know, oh, I heard this and it totally justifies how I think, so I have a bias to believe something.
Right.
But, you know, if someone comes at me with, like, an an opposing answer, I usually can just think about it. Oh, okay, yeah, I never thought about it like that before. Maybe I was pretty quick to jump to that conclusion.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like once it's actually like exposed, like, look what you're doing, Jake. You know, it's like then I can kind of step back. But it is a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it's hard to always see the bigger
constant
picture.
practice. Yeah.
And I feel like
Definitely.
all three of our answers thus far are things that are lifelong. I don't think you ever master that.
Yeah.
I find myself, you know, in terms of Tyler said compassion, I find myself not having empathy when I should for certain situations. And that's a skill to remove yourself from whatever your thoughts are of something and just accept the fact as is of what's happening or what somebody feels is happening. So like I've had a cold heart before in my life, and you know that's softened. Damn, the Grinch. But but you know, no, I think it's like lifelong. I think you always work at it. I'm never going to be patient like completely or compassionate or anything. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, it's a day-to-day thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Corey, you said that
I'm
yours
ready
was
for
like
this
totally
one.
left
You said
field,
left
man.
field,
We gotta hear
I'm
this
ready.
one.
He's like,
we're excited.
my apex sniping.
I love cooking, and that's what I would want to pass on. I don't.
Ooh,
nice.
I personally think that not enough people, not necessarily don't cook for themselves, but not enough people, in my eyes, know how to cook or are easily accepting the challenge of learning how to cook.
Yeah. The world is so fast paced now. We like run to like Postmates or fast food, or we don't actually take the time to learn ingredients and what goes with what. And yeah, I get you, Corey. That's an interesting skill to pass on.
Yeah.
I love that actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like then, and to take it back to my grandparents, like it is something that was passed on to me. So that's why it kind of strikes a chord with me, because my grandpa on my mom's side was one of the few people that ever cooked food for me, like ever. So like when he would like make lunch for me, and simple meals. Breakfast was a specialty, and like he'd make like BLTs and stuff for lunch. But like that was so important to me as a kid, to see my grandpa take initiative and ask me, "Hey, are you hungry?" And then it would be a yes or a no, and then he'd just go whip something up, and watching him cook and see him like just easily create the best meal I've ever had every time he's cooked. That's what I want to pass on to my kids. Like
That stuck with you, huh?
yeah,
Nice.
like when your abuela cooks for you or something, you know, it's your grandparents cooking. It's comfort food. No matter what they make, it's going to be good. And I know that that's a skill that everyone could pick up.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you make me dinner tomorrow?
Come on over, man. I'll get it made. You want some tamales or what?
Oh, yeah, that
let's
sounds
go, man.
great.
Hey. Okay, we're booking
You
a
guys
flight
got to
tonight.
move up here. Yeah.
Yeah, come on up.
Welcome
Corey,
to crash on my
expecting
couch.
a big party.
Yeah, exactly.
I got 2 inflatable mattresses. Let's go.
Score.
Let's do it.
I'll call up Isaiah. He can bring his RV.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great, man.
I think we got through everybody. We'll go with our last question tonight. What's something that you see in our society do for our elderly in terms of quality of care, life care?
Like positive or negative? Just anything?
Probably positive, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like,
Okay.
Well, we got those new suicide
Because there needs to be
pods.
improvements.
right.
I just mean that there's like
Right.
there's definitely we talked about this,
Right.
like lacking infrastructure for
Right.
seniors in
Yeah.
this country. There's not enough. Is what
Well, take
Right.
the lead, Jake. You got some opinions.
yeah, I mean, we talked about in this episode how in other countries it's just like the expectation that, you know, you kind of like take care of your grandparents, you know, it's just keeping your family together. And it's so disconnected nowadays, whether or not because people can't relate, because maybe life moves pretty fast for us. So it's just harder to connect with people who are older. But you know, they created everything for us today, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
and they should be living in castles with thrones. They might not be right all the time, but you know what? They deserve to feel like it.
I like that. Let them believe that.
Yes.
Let's believe that.
Although I thought it was funny how it's the Markham Elementary down the road. There's like across the street, there's like a retirement home.
Right.
So you can see like your entire life right before your eyes. There's like elementary school, the middle school, there's the college down the road.
Jeez.
And then
That's
the
all within
retirement
like
home.
a mile radius.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a high school not too far, so every stage. I never thought about
right
that. That's
there.
That kind
interesting.
of ties into that video you sent me today, Siler. It was a TikTok, and it was this guy, middle-aged guy, dropping off his son at football practice, and he's like, I remember when I was 16, but I'm almost 50 now, and it felt like 2 years ago I was a teenager. And before I know it, I'm going to be 80. You know, he was just talking about, you know, the whole aspect of life, just like I'm closer to being 80 than I am back to being a teenager where my son is. And it was just this realization of this man coming to terms with like where he is in life. And you always hear it from everyone that like life passes really quickly and all this other stuff. And in the meantime, when you're younger, you're like, whatever. It felt like it was so drawn out. And now it's like, it flies by. It's crazy if you can lose track of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard something. It was like the older you get, there's less milestones that are less new experiences in your life, and that's why the formative memories seem much longer.
Right. That makes total sense.
Wow.
That's very interesting.
Learning a lot today.
That's very true.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what about you, Tyler? What's something that you'd like to see our society do for the elder?
Maybe instead of, I don't know if it's possible, like, I know a lot of people are bedridden, but be able to take people outside still, instead of just being like inside of a house all day.
Right.
And just being miserable, like living the rest of your like time on there. Just getting them out, you know, get the fresh air, you know.
Right, change the scenery.
Yeah, change the scenery, definitely.
For sure.
I'd like to see that more being done. Yeah. Go ahead.
Tyler, so I'm curious. So my buddy Matt, actually you met him, Isaiah's brother.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Older brother. He was taking care of his grandpa, both grandpas actually. But he was really into VR development for a while, virtual reality stuff.
Okay.
And his grandpa really wanted to see parts of the world he had never seen. And he also wanted to like fly an airplane. And so he was able to like get his grandpa set up with virtual reality and take him on all of these experiences that he wanted to have.
Yeah.
It wasn't like out in the world, but you know, with the limitations that he had, like it was the next best option.
Yeah,
that's definitely that's a great option. I like that.
It's a new
Yeah.
experience.
I didn't think about that.
I wonder
Wow.
if there's any current programs that are not just studying that but implementing that. Because I mean that what you're talking about sounds like a really fantastic opportunity for people that are just not able to go out. Because I was thinking like heck, even playing the new flight simulator with the VR, like it's just Google Maps the flight simulator.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much. It's Bing Maps.
It's Bing Map.
Bing Maps. Yeah, it's a Microsoft. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
but yeah, no,
I
it's
like
true.
that. I like that you brought that up. That's a really good option. I mean, to have, even. No, I was gonna go back to the thing with VR. Say like the person's memories and like the greatest. Like, what if you could take like a VR experience of like their time and actually like put them in that simulation, so they can kind of remember things? That'd be like an awesome feeling as
Kind of
well.
like triggering memories.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's effects now to where like you can take 2D images and make them 3D, and you can colorize them and you can animate them with software. So like you could,
AI stuff,
you could put them back into their world, and that we know now that like Alzheimer's patients and people with memory problems, dementia, things like that. They do a lot better when you play music for them that they grew up with, and their memories and their skills come back by just showing them their life. I really wonder like what that could just do for somebody in terms of quality of life. I think that's fantastic.
Definitely.
There's one thing that I wanted to bring up that I was reading about today. So I was reading about different countries and what they do for elder care. And there's something called kangaroo housing, and they've implemented this in Belgium. And I'm going to read this verbatim from independentliving.co.uk. And the term kangaroo housing, or what it is kangaroo housing is also an initiative offered in the country of Belgium. It's been around for 30 years and involves older people living together with immigrant families within the same house on separate floors. The immigrant family help the elder person whenever they need it. The project was launched in Belgium in a district of Molenbeek, where 60% of the population are immigrants and 25% are retired. And it states that it can be beneficial for both parties in terms of proving their sense of belonging in the community and overall well-being. And I think that not just getting, like we kind of touched on the idea of community back together and helping our elderly, but like having these opportunities, like what they're doing is like people who are newer to the country, who want to be integrated, who have a connection to the memories of an entire generation's worth of ideas on this country, and getting to live like that and teach each other different cultures, like. Because That's brilliant. Yeah, like I think it's so great because I as far as I know, like when you get older, from what I've heard, your ideas more solidify and they're harder to change. So when you have maybe ideas that weren't as developed of other countries or other cultures or other peoples, having this opportunity to work together and work for each other, and lift each other up, I think that's a great way to start being more inclusive. And one more idea that Jake kind of touched on today was having, I think Japan does this, where they have more like senior citizens homes and assisted living homes or elder care right next to grade schools. So the children go over and help out the elderly during and after school. And I think having that connection between having that connection between children and grandparents and seeing this whole life cycle, like we touched on, is really super important for developing it and realizing that it's okay to get old. It's okay to let yourself experience things, and knowing that when that time comes and you need help, that there will be a generation of people who are invested in you and your well-being. And that's what I want to see. And I kind of want to, we can talk on this a little, but I did want to shout out, there's a place here that anyone can contribute to. You can, if you want to help out with the elderly, your local Meals on Wheels place is mostly volunteer. So if you have time to donate, try it. Hopefully this episode maybe convinced you to maybe take a little bit more care or call your grandma once in a while more.
Get the... No, never mind.
What?
Nothing. I was going to... No, okay.
He wants to go there, but he can't go there. He's so conflicted.
But yeah, the main points I want to get at is just donating your time and really having that community outreach with all ages at any point in your life is beneficial for you and everyone else around you. It builds bridges.
Right. Definitely.
What about you, Cale?
For me, the thing that I had noticed the last couple of years, there's obviously a lot of new building houses everywhere, especially in Southern California in our area. The need for homes is exponential with the amount of people that live here. But as I think we went on Saturday morning, there were new houses just over the hill in Simi Valley. And we went to the grand opening that was over there for the houses, and I went specifically to see if one thing had been taking place, and they did it. And the builders now build in the mother-in-law suites. Well, they're actually called multi-generational homes now.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not a mother-in-law suite anymore. It goes by another name, but it's basically a place where your parents or an older family member would be in that space, be safe inside of your home, be with family and be taken care of and have a safe spot. And they labeled it as multi-generational building. And the more homes over the past few years I've noticed are doing this, if they label it as multi-generational, so I'm going to say it as that. I mean, I'm sure you could rent it out. But
Is it like a back house?
It's essentially right when you go in the front door, right off the front door, there's a separate wing. It's got its own kitchenette, it's got its own bathroom, its own bedroom. So you basically have what you would have a small apartment in a assisted living facility or something along those lines. So I like the idea of doing that. It's just that things cost so much. I don't know if it's the need for extra income or if it's the need for wanting generations to stay together, because the one house we were looking at was like $2 million.
Wow.
So, and this is kind of a break off from this point, but Debbie was like, oh, I would have thought that, there's more starter homes. And I said, there's no such thing as starter homes being built anymore in this country. There's no money in a smaller starter home.
Yeah.
So partially, maybe part of that is for being able to afford a place. But I do like the idea of having your parents or an elderly family member nearby and safe. Case in point, what we did at the house, we've been doing a lot of renovation here. My mom currently lives in the converted space outside. And that was a whole another thing when we were talking about it, her not having to be away, her having a safe place that's familiar and, being able to be taken care of. She does not want to be taken care of. She's not at that age. But, the availability to look after them or have that interaction or, have somebody be comfortable and safe in their own space, I think is a big deal mentally.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, when you're taken away from your family, well, that's the wrong choice of words. Whenever you're moved to an assisted living facility, if you don't have the means to care for your parent or your grandparent, decisions sometimes have to be made. I'm not knocking anybody for that, but the mental strain that would put on a person, I can't imagine. So having the means to be able to have somebody nearby and be able to take care of them yourself, or at least be in proximity to someone, I think does wonders for someone's psyche. So I do like the idea of having multi-generational homes. Not everybody wants to live with their family, I understand. But, I mean, I think there should be more emphasis on taking care of people. I mean, other countries, that's the norm, to live with your family and, be communal in things. And I think we've branched off a little far from that, to each their own. But I like the idea of that.
Yeah,
so that's
just
what I would like to see more.
Kind of add on to what you're saying within that research, quote unquote, that I was doing today. Germany, Belgium, Norway, Sweden are all very good at exactly what you're talking about. They have several subsidized living programs where they're communities, where you enter into community at a certain stage in your life, and it's you pay just a very minimal amount. And the rest is taxpayer funded, so universal. And you have access to healthcare on site and medical professionals. But within this community, like you're saying, there's other families that live there, and they can also take turns interacting with this whole subsect of elderly people that might not necessarily have a family that can take care of them. So
nice.
There's quite a few other programs in different countries that I really hope that the United States. As we get older, I mean, our parents right now are going to be they're I think it's like 5% of the population is going to be over 60, if not more. That's several million people we got to start really thinking about taking care of.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully all these changes are furthering, and we have more of a, not acceptance, but a more of a appreciation for elderly people.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's really only two ways to deal with it. You either push them away or you take them in.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. because they don't go anywhere
Right.
otherwise.
Right. Well,
So-
I mean, especially now when everything's like kind of privatized, where you have to have money, you have to have resources that are already available to you before you can access the end of life care.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's sorry. I'm going to go off into this tangent about it, but for my brother, he has autism, and he's not someone who's going to be able to potentially live on his own. I mean, he can be independent, but he's going to have some kind of family member or some kind of assistance
Right.
alongside of him, and he knows that. And so it hasn't really been officially talked about or anything, but I just feel like a obligation because I consider my brother like a really good friend. You know, we get on along really well, and he is an amazing person. Like his brain is so cool. Like he just comes up with these amazing ideas. He's very creative, does some really cool music. And so I just admire that guy, and I want to be able to provide him a comfortable space so that I can still, provide to that, and he can do his own independent thing. But here I am, like my situation is like I'm kind of the sole breadwinner, I guess,
Right.
if you want to call it that. I don't know what to say. And, I want to be able to take care of, more than just two people if I could. But
Right.
with the way that the economy is, I have to really fight and push for it and be super competitive just to maintain a level of economic comfortability for that to even happen.
Right.
So like I'm okay with like living in an 850 square foot bungalow for the rest of my life, if that means I can also have like some kind of RV or whatever or trailer that he can also live in and utilize my space or whatever it is.
Right.
But that's like a more realistic version of how I'm preparing for my future, So we have to have some kind of way to, and that's just like for that unique situation,
Right.
but even more so with parents and grandparents, taking on those people as well if we can. So it's like we don't really have enough space in certain areas with like the urban growth boundary up here in Portland.
Yeah.
So
Right.
really the only way is up or down,
Right.
So it's I don't know how we're going to do it. And
Yeah.
unless we find a way in America where it's profitable to do it that
Right.
way.
That's
Yeah.
what it boils down to.
Hard selling point for sure.
Yeah. And then it's just more to your point of not taking responsibility, but making that effort to make sure you're fiscally sound, because, you hear these things about, what are all of our parents or grandparents talk about is Social Security. They talk about cutting it. They talk about draining it. They talk
Raising
about
the age.
So, I mean, with things happening now, I don't know, in 10, 15 years, my mom's Social Security is there or not.
Right.
So it's even more of a thing of trying to, I guess, compensate for that or plan for that and say, in the eventuality that my mom doesn't get a monthly, stipend anymore, what position do I have to be in to take care of that? Or split that with my sister or whatever the means be. But like as an overall thing, you're touching on a point that none of us have had to really consider yet of what are we going to do when this happens? Because we're thinking about, how do we make it in life? But now we're going to, at the same time, have to plan even more so going forward.
Yeah, it's not just planning for children anymore or planning for our retirement, but planning for our parents' retirement.
Right.
Collectively, yeah. Shoot.
It's just a lot of stuff to consider and try to do these what's best for everybody type of situations where we're trying to keep afloat ourselves, in some instances. So,
and I think to add a high note on that, like with us already talking about this, like we're all very close to the same age, late 20s, early 30s. I think this is something that's on a lot of our minds already. And I would like to think that within the next 20 years or so, we'll see a lot more of these taxpayer funded programs or ways that we can just help out. I see a light at the end of this, and right. I know that there's a lot of like climate change and a lot of problems going on right now, but we're also making strides. Like I said, like there's a lot of Northern European countries, and in fact, China, Korea, and Japan are also really good at their elder care. So there's a lot to learn. We just have to accept that we can start working on it.
Right.
I think so, especially, and I'm not trying to like push this program, because I'm a part of it now, but, genuinely having a conversation about these kinds of things, they can be uncomfortable for a lot of people because they're scary.
Right.
So, having a conversation or a platform like this is really good to keep that light glowing at the end of the tunnel.
Thanks, man.
Right.
I think so too.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's easy to let things that are uncomfortable and could be potentially confrontational drift to the background. Say, I don't want to deal with the hard part. I want to put on the best version of myself, and sometimes saddling up and having to make sacrifices personally. Some people, we just need to do that for the betterment of others versus just furthering ourselves a little bit more.
Yeah. And to bring up like things you can do now is just volunteer your time. If your time or your money, if you have extra funds, Meals on Wheels, any senior assisted living home is always taking volunteers in your area. Habitat for Humanity is building homes for what we talked about today. So there's plenty of options if you want.
Tyler.
Got me.
The busiest one.
Oh man. Well, wow, that was a really like nostalgic, informative, and like heartwarming episode, guys. I had like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
that's cool.
absolutely.
Great topics. I mean, just good stuff all around.
Yeah, definitely appreciate the time. This is awesome.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man.
thank you.
Glad
Thanks
to have
again.
you /meet you /everything.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, Jake. Thanks for showing up. Can't wait to work more with you, man.
Yeah,
Hell
looking
yeah,
forward
man.
to
Thank
it.
you so much.
Thanks for being a part of
Yeah.
the team, and thanks for being a part of Tall Talk.
Yeah,
Of course.
been
Yeah.
a
Our
blast.
first
So
happy to
official
be tall.
guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tall people. Oh, I am the first guest. Cool. That's awesome. Guest and incorporating into
Yes,
the group.
sir.
Yeah.
all right.
Joining in, squatting up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just because I'm tall. Too.
Yep.
That was actually the only
Definitely.
reason I asked you. I said, that man's tall. He probably wants a job.
He's like, he probably wants something tall related to work on.
The litmus test was
How'd you
finding
know?
something on the shelf that I couldn't reach.
There it is.
I don't know if anybody else knows this, and I'm sorry I'm bringing it out into the open, but it's about time. But there is a collective of tall people. We know everybody who's tall. So if you're tall, you know us probably,
Yeah,
right?
we're part. Yeah, if you know, you know.
There you go.
You know. Yep.
It's the Black Lodge. Sorry, Twin Peaks.
Oh man. All right. So where can we find you, Corey, on socials? Like how can we reach you, find you, your work, all that jazz?
My list of fears, my home address. No, if you want to find me, you can find
Readily
me on.
available.
If you want to find me, you can find me on Instagram at Corey.Andre, COREY.ONDREY.
All right. What about you, Sale? Where can we find you?
I am Tall Tale Cale _ in between each word on Instagram and Twitter. And I have TikTok bearded _ giant. I'm on there off. So check it out.
Perfect. I'm on Instagram as well. That's Teelo43, TEELO 43, the number. And I occasionally stream on Twitch as well. Sushi Moose is my handle, Sushi and then Moose. So yeah, you can check me out on there. All right, Jake, is there any place we could find you on socials or where we can reach you?
Yeah. On Twitter, you can follow me at Dustrado, DUSTRADO. It's a Carl Sagan thing. You can ask me about it later. But yeah, eventually, maybe through this platform here, my options can expand
Hey,
for following me.
we like the sound of
I
that.
wouldn't doubt it, yeah.
If you can't reach out to Jake on his Twitter handle, you can always email us, email the crew at talltaleroundtable@gmail.com.
Yeah.
We'll get it to him expedited.
One more time?
Quickly.
Expo?
Express mail.
Perfect.
Or walk down the
man.
hall, Corey, for you.
Prime for those who need some kind of cultural
There
reference.
you go.
All right. So, yeah, thanks again, everyone, for listening. We appreciate your time and, always hanging with us. And we'll come out with some other episodes for you. Can't wait. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Love you guys. Bye.
Later, Gators.
I'll tell you later.
This show has been brought to you by the Tall Tale Network. If you enjoy our content, please consider following us on Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon, where we can be found as Tall Tale Network. If you subscribe to our Patreon, you'll get an invite to our Discord server, where we will be answering questions and posting our sources from each week's episode. If you have any tall tales you want us to talk about, please email us at talltalenetwork@gmail.com. Let's ride!